The first thing I learned after surviving betrayal was that freedom did not feel like flying. It felt like sitting in the back of a moving car with my hands wrapped around a phone that would not stop trembling, staring at a photo of my old apartment door while my lungs forgot how to work. "We know where you ran, little Omega." 4 days ago, those words would have made me fold into myself. 4 days ago, I would have called Selene Vale until my fingers hurt. 4 days ago, I still believed an alpha's promise could be a roof. Now I knew better. Promises could be forged into chains. Protection could become a cage. Love could stand in a hallway full of cameras and call you no one because it thought humiliation was safer than death. I stared at the photo again. My old apartment door. The rusted brass number. The crooked peephole. The crack near the frame from the winter. My neighbor's drunk boyfriend tried to kick it in. And I had learned, very young, that locks were only comfort for people who had never been hunted. My throat tightened. Vesper Crow leaned closer from the opposite seat, her pale eyes reflecting the light of my phone. "That is not one of mine," she said. I laughed once, sharp and empty. "That is supposed to make me feel better?" "No," Vesper replied. "It is supposed to make you think faster." The car cut through the city like a black blade. Outside, night smeared across the glass. Towers glittered above us, all those rich alpha windows, shining like stars that had forgotten the ground existed. My thumb hovered over Selene's unread voice notes. One, then another. Then another. Her name sat on the screen like a wound that refused to close. I had told her to find me by choice. I had not expected the world to remind me so quickly that choice was a privilege people, like Octavia Vale, tried to murder first. Vesper tapped the privacy screen between us and the driver. Route change, not the West House. Take us underground. The driver did not ask questions. That was the thing about power. It moved without explanation. I looked at Vesper. Who sent it? Her gaze stayed on the photo. Someone who wants you afraid enough to run toward the wrong arms. Octavia? Possibly. Sterling? Possibly. Selene? Vesper's eyes lifted. There was no softness in them, but there was something worse. Honesty. "Do you want me to lie?" she asked. My stomach dropped. "No." "Then yes," she said quietly. "To be someone inside Selene's circle. Not necessarily Selene, but someone close enough to know which door would hurt you." The phone felt suddenly dirty in my hand. My old apartment. Selene had never been there. She knew about it, of course. She knew everything that could be folded neatly into a file. My scholarship record. My suppressant history. My rental address before she moved me into her penthouse. Temporarily had lasted 11 months. Long enough for my scent to cling to her sheets. Long enough for her coat to become the thing I reached for when I was cold. Long enough for me to mistake shelter for belonging. The phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A second photo loaded. This time, it was not my door. It was a picture of my mother. She was standing outside the clinic where she worked nights, wrapped in her faded blue coat, head bent against the rain. She did not see the camera. She did not know she was being watched. The message under it was shorter. *, choose wisely. For one breath, the whole world went silent. Then something inside me tore open. Not fear, not grief, something older, something with teeth. I lunged for the door handle. Vesper caught my wrist before I touched it. "Don't," she said. I snapped toward her. "Let go of me." "No. My mother is out there. And if you rush into the open, you hand yourself to them." I said, "Let go." My voice cracked on the last word, and I hated it. Hated that my body still sounded small when my rage was enormous. Vesper's grip tightened, not enough to hurt, enough to hold. "Listen to me, Mera." I jerked against her. "Do not use that alpha voice on me." Her nostrils flared. For half a second, the air in the car thickened. Her alpha scent pressed against the neutralizer, dark and floral and dangerous. Then she released me. Not because I had overpowered her, because I had told her no. The difference mattered. I clutched the phone to my chest, breathing hard. Vesper sat back slowly. Your mother is already being moved. I froze. What? I sent April 2nd. I saw the first message. You sent crow guards to my mother? Yes. You had her watched. Yes. The word landed between us like a slap. I stared at her. You had my mother watched, and you did not tell me? Vesper did not look away. I had every person connected to you watched after the summit. My skin went cold. That is not protection, I whispered. That is possession, wearing a better suit. Her jaw tightened. For the first time since I had met Vesper Crow, I saw something flicker across her face that almost looked like regret. Almost. Maybe, she said. I laughed, but it shook. Is that supposed to be your apology? No, Vesper said. I am not good at those. Clearly. But your mother will live because I was paranoid. I wanted to hate her. I did hate her. I also knew she was right. That was the problem with Vesper. She rarely asked to be forgiven. She simply made herself useful enough that anger had to share space with gratitude. My phone rang. Selene. The screen lit my hands. Vesper's eyes dropped to it. Answer, she said. My heart kicked. No. Answer, Vesper repeated. Not because she deserves it. Because whoever sent those photos wants you isolated. And isolation is where Omegas disappear. I stared at the name. Selene Vale. The Alpha who had held me while I slept. The Alpha who had signed me away. The Alpha who had knelt in front of every pack in the city and asked to earn me back. The Alpha who still did not understand that love was not a leash, even when it was made of desperation. The phone rang and rang. I answered on the last vibration. I did not speak. For 1 second, there was only breathing. Then Selene's voice broke through, raw and ruined. Mera. My eyes closed. I hated my body for recognizing her before my mind could defend itself. Her voice did something to my Omega instincts. It reached beneath all my armor and touched the place that still believed she was safe. I opened my eyes again. Do not soften me, I said. Selene went quiet. Then softer. I won't. You already are. A sound left her. Not a laugh, not a sob. Something caught between both. Where are you? She asked. I looked at Vesper. Vesper shook her head once. I looked back at the photo of my mother. Someone sent me pictures, I said. Selene's breathing changed. What pictures? My old apartment. My mother. A silence followed. Not confusion. Recognition. My blood turned cold. Selene. Her voice dropped. Send them to me. You know something. Mera. Send them to me. No, Mera. No. I snapped. You do not get to command me because you are scared. The line went still. Then Selene said, very quietly, You're right. Those 2 words hit harder than they should have. It's not because they fixed anything. Because the old Selene would have argued first. What do you know? I asked. Selene exhaled. Octavia kept private threat files. My stomach sank. On me? On everyone I cared about. My grip tightened around the phone. I was in a file? Yes, my mother. A pause. Yes, the car seemed to tilt beneath me. You knew, I whispered. I found out after you vanished. After? Yes. And I'm supposed to believe that? No, Selene said. You're supposed to verify it. I blinked. That was not what I expected. On the other side of the call, Selene sounded different. Still wrecked. Still Alpha, but stripped of the polished certainty that used to make every sentence sound like a locked door. I will send you the files, she continued. All of them. Not selected. Not cleaned. Everything. Vesper's brows lifted slightly. She is learning, she murmured. Selene heard her. A growl ripped through the phone. Crow. Vesper smiled like she had been complimented. Val. Selene's voice sharpened. If you touched her. Finish that sentence, Vesper said lazily. I want to hear how little you learned from tonight. I cut in before the air could ignite. Enough. Both alphas went silent. That silence was the first power I ever truly tasted. Not borrowed from Selene. Not handed to me by Vesper. Mine. I am going to say this once, I said. If either of you treats me like a prize in your war again, I will walk away from both of you and burn every bridge behind me. Selene breathed out shakily. I understand. Vesper's smile faded. After a moment, she said, Understood. Good. My hands still trembled, but my voice did not. Selene, send the files to the secure channel Vesper gives you. Vesper, get my mother somewhere safe, and then give me proof with her voice, not just your word. And both of you stop assuming I will collapse if I see the truth. Selene whispered, Mera, what? I am proud of you. My throat closed. Because I wanted that. Because I hated that. I wanted that. Because her pride came after the damage. And part of me still reached for it like a starving thing. I swallowed hard. Do not make this about how beautifully I survived what you helped create. Her silence cracked. You're right, she said again. But this time the words sounded like blood in her mouth. I'm sorry. I ended the call before the apology could find a soft place in me. For a long moment, the car moved through the dark. Vesper watched me with an unreadable expression. You handled that well, she said. I looked out the window. I am tired of being handled. She did not reply. That, too, felt like progress. The underground route took us beneath the old financial district, where emergency tunnels built by dead men with too much money still ran under the city like veins. Crow owned some. Vale owned others. The city pretended not to know because every pack needed secrets to survive. Our car stopped inside, a service bay lit by harsh white lamps. Crow guards waited in silence. A medic stood near the elevator. A woman in a gray coat held a tablet against her chest. Vesper stepped out first. I followed. The air smelled like metal, rain, and filtered fear. Where is my mother? I asked. On her way to a secure clinic, Vesper said. 2 of my women extracted her from the night entrance 10 minutes ago. Women? Vesper gave me a dry look. You think I would send male guards after what happened tonight? Fair. The woman with the tablet approached. Miss Halden, she said, we have your mother on a closed line. My heart jumped so hard I almost dropped the phone. The woman tapped the screen. A video call opened. My mother's face appeared, pale, confused, wet from rain, alive. Mera? The sound that came out of me was not a word. It was the child in me breaking through the woman I had been pretending to be. Mom. Her eyes filled instantly. Baby, what is happening? These women said you sent them. They said I had to come now. I pressed a hand over my mouth. For 1 second, I was not an Omega at the center of a corporate pack war. I was just someone's daughter. I'm sorry, I whispered. No, my mother said, sharp enough to cut through my tears. Do not apologize for danger choosing you. Tell me you are safe. I looked around the underground bay, at the guards, at Vesper, at the elevator that probably led to another gilded cage dressed as sanctuary. I'm safer than I was, I said. My mother's mouth trembled. She knew me too well. She knew what answers meant by what they refused to say. Mera. I'm handling it. You should not have to. The words broke something in me, because everyone else had talked about what I could endure. My mother was the first person who said I should not have had to endure it at all. I know, I whispered. She leaned closer to the camera. Listen to me. Whoever is using me against you, do not give them your life to save mine. My breath shook. Mom, I mean it, she said. I did not raise you to become someone's payment. Behind me, Vesper went very still. My mother continued, voice stronger now. And I did not raise you to forgive powerful women just because they cry prettily after hurting you. I almost laughed. Almost. I love you, I said. I love you more. Call me when you can. And Mera? Yes! Her eyes hardened in a way that reminded me I had not built myself alone. Make them afraid to ever touch an Omega again. The call ended. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Vesper said, very softly, I like your mother. I wiped my cheeks with the heel of my hand. She would hate you, I assumed. The tablet in Vesper's hand chimed. Her expression changed. Selene sent the files. My body went cold again. We rode the elevator down instead of up. That should have been my first warning. Rich people built penthouses to show power. Paranoid people built basements to keep it alive. The command room under Crow's old financial annex was nothing like the safe house. No soft couches, no fake sanctuary. It's just screens, servers' maps, and women moving with quiet urgency. Vesper's people worked like a storm given human shape. Names appeared on the screens. Octavia Vale, Sterling Private Security, Vale board members, PAC Summit witnesses, my name, my mother's name. Selene's file transfer opened across the main screen, unredacted, thousands of pages. Vesper crossed her arms. She really sent everything. I stared at the folder names. Omega Risk Profiles, CO Emotional Compromises, Crow Partnership Pressure Points, Asset Relocation Protocols. A sick laugh crawled up my throat. Asset, I whispered. Vesper's jaw tightened. I have been called worse, she said. I looked at her. Something passed between us then. Not friendship, not trust, recognition. Vesper Crow had power now. But I suddenly understood that she knew exactly what it meant to be made into a tool before you were old enough to name the hand holding you. I turned back to the files. Open my profile. Vesper hesitated. I looked at her sharply. No more deciding what I can handle. She inclined her head and gave the order. My life opened on the screen. My birth date, my school records, suppressant prescriptions, scholarship status, scent sensitivity notes, projected heat cycle windows, my mother's employment, my old rent payments, photos of me entering Selene's private elevator, photos of me sleeping in the back seat of Selene's car, her coat over my knees, and then a note written in Octavia's clean, elegant hand. Asterisk emotional liability. Remove before claiming becomes public. If bonded, CEO loyalty compromised permanently. If unbonded, transferable. I stopped breathing. Transferable. That was the word that finally did it. Not no one. Not liability. Transferable. Like my body, my future, my fear, my love could be signed across a table and stamped into someone else's possession. My vision sharpened until every light in the room looked cruel. Put it all online, I said. Vesper looked at me. Her people froze. Everything, she asked. Everything about Octavia, Sterling, the board, the relocation protocols, the threat files. Vesper's eyes narrowed. That will destroy Vale. No, I said. It will expose Vale. And Selene? My chest hurt. There it was. The question beneath all the others. What was I willing to let happen to the woman I loved? A woman could be guilty and still be loved. A woman could be loved and still need consequences. The world wanted Omegas to confuse one for the other. I refused. Selene sent the files, I said. Leave the metadata intact. Vesper's mouth curved faintly. So the world sees she chose disclosure. The world sees the truth, I corrected. What they do with her after that is not mine to soften. Vesper studied me for a long second. Then she nodded. Release package in 10, she ordered. The room moved. My phone buzzed. Selene again. This time, it was only a text. Asterisk, I know what you are about to do. Do it. I stared at it. Then another message came. Asterisk, I should have done it first. My throat burned. I typed back with trembling fingers. Asterisk, yes, you should have. A reply came almost immediately. Asterisk, I know. No defense. No explanation. Just the truth. Maybe that was how repair started. Not with romance. With a woman finally standing still under the weight of what she had done. The release went live at 2:17 a.m. By 2:19, the first journalist had it. By 2:23, 3 PAC networks were running emergency segments. By 2:31, Vale Group's stock froze under investigation alerts. By 2:40, Sterling Private Securities license suspension was announced pending criminal review. By 2:46, Octavia Vale's face appeared on every screen in the command room. Not smiling this time. Never smiling again. Crow's monitors played the footage on loop. Octavia's phone call, the payments, The Omega files, the relocation protocol, my name, other names, too many names. That was the part that made my knees weak. I had not been the first. I had simply been the one who survived loudly enough to break the pattern. Vesper stood beside me, silent. On one of the screens, a list of Omegas flagged under previous internal transfers scrolled past. Some had new pack assignments. Some had disappeared from records. Some had no status at all. My hand went to my mouth. Oh my God, Vesper's voice was quiet. Now you understand why Octavia cannot be allowed to negotiate her way out. I looked at her. You knew there were others. I suspected. You did not tell me. I did not have proof. You had enough to use me. Her expression did not change, but something in her eyes tightened. Yes, she said. I looked away. There were no clean alphas in this story. Not Selene, not Vesper. Maybe not any of them. Maybe that was why Omegas were taught to seek protection instead of justice. Protection could be owned. Justice had to be taken. A red alert flashed across the central screen. One of Vesper's analysts sat up. We have movement at the south tunnel. Vesper turned. How many? 2 vehicles. No transponder. Heat signatures show 6, maybe 8. My stomach dropped. Sterling. Even before anyone said it, I knew the message. The photos. The threat. Not a warning. A countdown. Vesper's alpha presence snapped through the room. Lock down. Move the asset. She stopped. Slowly, she looked at me. I stared back. The silence sharpened. Vesper corrected herself. Move Mera to the inner room. I should have been pleased she caught it. I was too tired. No, I said. Her eyes flashed. This is not a debate. It is when my name is in your mouth. Mera, I am done hiding in rooms while alphas fight over doors. Vesper stepped closer. You are not trained. I am not helpless. Those are not the same thing. Before I could answer, the wall speakers crackled. A woman's voice came through, tense. Outer gate breached. The room erupted. Guards moved. Screens shifted. Doors sealed with heavy metallic thuds. My Omega instinct screamed at me to run, hide, find a small dark corner and survive. But another instinct rose with it now. The one my mother had fed when she told me not to become payment. The one Selene had awakened when she called me no one. The one Vesper had sharpened by giving me the knife. I turned to the screen showing the south tunnel. Black vehicles rolled in under harsh lights. Men in tactical gear poured out. Not many. Enough. One carried a device against the tunnel door. The analyst shouted, "They have a breach charge." Vesper swore under her breath. Inner room. Now. The lights flickered. Then the private elevator behind us chimed. Every weapon in the room turned toward it. My heart stopped. The doors opened. Selene Vale stepped out. She was alone. No guards. No coat. Blood on one sleeve. Her hair loose around her face. Her eyes found mine immediately, and the entire room seemed to inhale around her. Vesper's guards raised their guns. Selene did not look at them. She looked only at me. You said no guards, she said. My throat tightened. You are bleeding. It is not mine. Vesper moved forward like a drawn blade. How did you get into my annex? Selene finally glanced at her. You bought 3 tunnels from my father. He kept a 4th. Vesper's smile was cold. Useful family. Dead family, Selene replied. The useful one is currently under arrest. My pulse jumped. Octavia? I asked. Selene's gaze softened when it returned to me. Detained. Not enough, but detained. The south tunnel screen flashed white. The explosion hit a second later. The floor trembled. Alarms screamed. Dust rained from the ceiling. Selene moved before thought could form. 1 second, she was across the room. The next, she was in front of me, body angled between me and the blast doors. Instinct. Always instinct. Always protection before permission. My hand pressed against her back before I could stop myself. She went utterly still. So did I. Her scent broke through the neutralizers, damaged and exhausted and achingly familiar. Velvet over steel, home and hurt. I pulled my hand away. Selene did not turn, but her voice was rough. Sorry. For bleeding on me or shielding me without asking. Both. Despite everything, a breath almost like laughter escaped me. Then the second blast shook the doors. Vesper's voice cut through the room. Fight later. Survive now. Selene and Vesper looked at each other. Two female alphas. Two storms. For a second, the air itself seemed ready to split between them. Then Selene said, "How many?" Vesper answered. 8 confirmed. Sterling, yes. They will not stop until they have her or Octavia's dead. Vesper's eyes narrowed. Octavia hired them. Octavia hired them, Selene said. But someone else activated them after the leak. My blood chilled. Who? Selene looked at me. Pain passed over her face. Marin. The name hit me wrong. No, Selene swallowed. Sorry. I am sorry, Marin. Polished, quiet Marin. The assistant who had whispered apologies outside the boardroom. The beta whose eyes would not meet mine. She was afraid of Octavia, I said. She was paid by Octavia, Selene replied. And after tonight, she panicked. She emptied a contingency account and triggered Sterling's final contract. I thought of Marin's face in the hallway. My name in her mouth like an apology. Maybe it had been one. Maybe guilt and betrayal could live in the same body. Where is she? Vesper asked. Selene's jaw tightened. Inside your outer network. Vesper's eyes flashed. At the same time, every screen in the room went black. Then, one by one, they lit with a video feed. Marin's face appeared. Pale, shaking, eyes red. Mera, she said. My stomach twisted. Vesper hissed. Trace it. Her analysts scrambled. Marin looked directly into the camera. I did not want it to go this far. Selene's voice turned lethal. Then stop it. Marin flinched at the sound of her. Miss Vale, do not call me that. Tears slipped down Marin's cheeks. You don't understand. Octavia had everything. My brother's treatment. My mother's citizenship appeal. She said if I helped, no one would get hurt. Vesper laughed once, without humor. And you believed Octavia Vale? Marin's face crumpled. I believed I had no choice. The words went through me like cold water. Because I hated her. Because I understood her. Because powerful people built cages and then called the trapped guilty for chewing through the bars. I stepped forward. Selene immediately reached, as if to stop me, then froze before touching me. That small restraint nearly broke me more than the reaching. I looked at Marin on the screen. You sent the photos of my mother. Marin covered her mouth. I am sorry. Did you? Yes. The room blurred at the edges. Selene's scent spiked with rage. Vesper's voice was ice. Location? An analyst replied, signal bouncing inside the south tunnel. Marin looked over her shoulder, terrified. They are coming in, she whispered. I can open the emergency shutters. I can lock Sterling between the 2 blast sections. Vesper snapped. Then do it. Marin shook her head. It requires internal authorization. Selene stepped forward. Use mine. No, Marin whispered. Octavia revoked your master credentials before she was detained. Vesper's eyes narrowed. Use Crow Command. Crow Command is locked out from my side. A horrible stillness filled the room. Marin's gaze found mine. It needs Omega biometric confirmation. I stared at the screen. What? Vesper's face went hard. Octavia built relocation protocols into the old tunnels. Omega biometric locks. They used them to move unbonded Omegas without public records. My mouth went dry. And mine is in the system. No one answered. They did not have to. The walls shook again. A guard shouted. They are through the first seal! Marin cried. Mera, if you come to the east control door, you can close the tunnel. But you have 3 minutes. After that, they reach the annex. Selene turned to Vesper. It is a trap. Vesper said, obviously. I said, it is also the only way. Both alphas looked at me. No, Selene said immediately. There it is, I whispered. Her face changed. Pain flashed in her eyes. No, she said again, but softer. Not because I command you, because I am terrified. My chest tightened. That honesty hurt. Vesper looked between us with sharp impatience. Fear can be discussed after we are not under siege. I turned to her. Can you get me there? Selene snarled. Mera. I faced her. I am not asking permission. Her jaw trembled. For one terrible second, I watched the alpha in her fight, the woman trying to love me better. Then Selene stepped back, her hands curled into fists at her sides. I know, she whispered. Those 2 words were a door opening. Vesper moved first. 2 guards with me. Vale. If you slow us down, I shoot you. Selene did not even look at her. If you let anything touch her, I will let you try. Under any other circumstances, I might have rolled my eyes. Instead, I started running. The East Control Corridor was narrow, concrete, and lit by red emergency strips. The air tasted like smoke. Somewhere behind the walls, metal screamed under pressure. Vesper ran ahead, gun drawn. Selene ran at my side, close but not touching. That space between us felt louder than contact. A week ago, she would have grabbed my wrist. A week ago, I might have let her. Now she matched my pace and let me move on my own feet. That was not redemption, but it was evidence. We reached the first junction when shots cracked through the corridor. Vesper shoved 1 guard down. Selene caught my shoulder and pulled me behind a pillar, releasing me the second I was covered. Men in sterling black armor appeared at the far end. Vesper fired first. She was elegant, even in violence, cold, precise. A queen turning a battlefield into paperwork. Selene was different. Selene fought like something sacred had been touched by dirty hands. She moved with brutal grace, disarming the first attacker who got close, slamming him into the wall, hard enough to crack plaster. Another lunged. She turned, took the hit on her forearm, and drove her knee into his ribs. I stood frozen for half a second. Then a hand grabbed me from behind. My body remembered the lobby. The mercenary's fingers clamped around my upper arm. Omega instinct screamed. But I had no cage left inside me big enough to hold that scream. I drove my heel down onto his foot, twisted the way Vesper's guard had shown me 2 hours ago, and slammed my elbow back into his throat. He gagged. Selene turned, eyes blazing. I shouted, "Don't!" She froze mid-step. I grabbed the emergency extinguisher from the wall and swung it with both hands. The metal connected with the side of the man's helmet. He dropped. My hands shook around the handle. Vesper looked at me, over her shoulder. Your mother would be proud. I was too breathless to answer. Selene stared at me like she had just watched the sun rise in the wrong direction. Mera, she whispered. I pointed down the corridor. Run. So we ran. At the east control door, Mera waited behind reinforced glass. She looked smaller in person. Not innocent. Just small. The kind of small people become when the consequences finally catch them. She opened the outer panel with trembling hands. A biometric pad slid out. Red light pulsed. Omega. Class confirmation required. My stomach turned. Selene made a low sound in her throat. Vesper whispered, monstrous. I looked at the pad. How? Marin's voice shook through the intercom. Palm and scent gland proximity. Of course. Not just my hand. My biology. My designation turned into a key for my own transportation. I almost laughed. Instead, I placed my palm on the scanner. The machine beeped. Then a mechanical arm extended toward my neck. Selene stepped forward with a snarl. I lifted my free hand. Stop. She stopped. Every muscle in her body looked like it was tearing itself apart to obey. The scanner brushed near the scent gland below my ear, not touching, close enough to make my skin crawl. The machine turned green. Omega Halden. Mera. Transfer status. Active. My vision went white at the edges. Active. Still active. Even after everything. Even after the summit. Even after the leak. The system still thought I could be moved. Something cold and perfect settled inside me. Marin, I said. She swallowed. Yes? Delete me. Her eyes widened. I can't. Delete me. Mera, the system. Delete every Omega profile you can access, I said. Right now. Vesper's eyes sharpened. Selene went utterly still. Mera shook her head. If I do that, Octavia's failsafes will trigger. It will alert external servers. Good, I said. Mera stared. I leaned toward the glass. Let them see it. Let every regulator, every journalist, every pack court see exactly what they built. But before they lock you out, delete the active transfer status. Mera cried harder. I will go to prison. Yes, I said. The word was not cruel. It was clean. You sent men after my mother. You helped Mark Omegas as assets. You are going to prison. But right now, you can decide whether you go as the woman who kept helping them or the woman who finally stopped. Behind us, gunfire echoed closer. Vesper snapped. 30 seconds. Mera's hands flew over the console. Lines of code flashed across the glass reflection. Selene stepped beside me, not touching, voice low. Mera. What? When this is over, I will fund the legal team for every Omega on that list. I looked at her. Her eyes were wet. No press release, she said. No branding. No veil redemption campaign. Just money and names and whatever they need. My throat tightened. That does not fix us. I know, she whispered. It does not buy forgiveness. I know. Then why say it? It is what should be done. For a second, all I could do was stare at her. There she was. Not the alpha, promising daylight after the board approved her empire. Not the CEO calculating the safest version of my disappearance. A woman standing in a burning corridor, finally choosing the right thing without asking it to become romance. The console chimed. Marin gasped. Transfer status deleted. The scanner flashed. Omega Halden, Mera. Status, free civilian. I stopped breathing. Free civilian. 2 words. So small, so enormous. Then every screen in the corridor turned red. External report triggered. Vesper smiled slowly. There it is. Mera slammed her palm onto the final command. Deep in the tunnel, the blast shutters dropped. The sound was massive. One after another, metal gates crashed down, sealing the south corridor section by section. On the security monitor, Sterling's men were trapped between 2 barriers. Weapons raised. Nowhere to go. Vesper lifted her comm. Flood the chamber with suppressant gas. Non-lethal. I want them breathing when investigators arrive. Selene glanced at her. Vesper's mouth curved. What? I can be civic-minded. The immediate danger ended with a hiss of gas and the dull sound of weapons hitting concrete. But endings I was learning did not arrive cleanly. Mera opened the control room door and stepped out with her hands raised. 2 crow guards seized her immediately. She did not fight. Her eyes found mine. I am sorry, she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. There were so many things I could have said. That sorry was not enough. That sorry did not unwatch my mother. That sorry did not erase the photo of my door. The trembling in my hands, the night's other Omegas vanished through tunnels built to swallow them. In the end, I said only the truth. You will have time to be. They took her away. When the corridor emptied, the adrenaline left me so suddenly my knees buckled. Selene moved, then stopped herself. May I? She asked, voice rough. The question undid me. Not because it was grand, because it was late, because it was small, because it should have been there from the beginning. I nodded once. Selene caught me before I hit the floor. Her arms went around me carefully, not claiming, not trapping, just holding the weight I could no longer hold alone. My forehead pressed against her shoulder. For one terrible, beautiful second, I let myself breathe her in. She trembled. The great Selene Vale. Alpha of Vale. Woman who made boardrooms go silent by entering them. Shook like a confession while holding me in a smoke-stained corridor under the city. I almost lost you, she whispered. I closed my eyes. You did lose me. Her breath hitched. I know. I pulled back enough to look at her. Her face was close. Too close. Every hurt thing in me wanted to close the distance. Every wise thing in me held still. I am not coming back because there was danger, I said. Selene nodded quickly. I know. I am not your reward for finally doing the right thing. I know. If I choose you again, it will not be because you knelt, or cried, or saved me in a hallway. Her eyes shone. Then why? I swallowed. Because you learn. A tear slipped down her cheek. I will. No, I said. You are. The difference passed through her. She lowered her forehead, almost to mine. Stopping before contact. Still asking. Still waiting. My heart ached. I touched her cheek with 2 fingers. That was all. Her eyes closed like it was mercy. Behind us, Vesper cleared her throat. Touching. Unfortunately, the city is collapsing upstairs. I stepped away from Selene. Selene let me. Another piece of evidence. The next 12 hours moved like a storm with paperwork. Octavia Vale was formally arrested at dawn. After investigator connected her accounts to Sterling, the Omega transfer tunnels, and 3 previous disappearances. By breakfast, 5 Vale board members resigned. By noon, 2 were detained. By afternoon, every major PAC in the city publicly denied knowledge of Omega relocation systems, which meant at least half of them were terrified of what would be found in their own basements. Vesper leaked nothing else. She did not need to. The truth had developed teeth. Selene did exactly what I demanded. She resigned her voting proxy. She removed Octavia from every position the law allowed before trial. She published a statement that did not call me staff, asset, complication, or protected party. She wrote my name. Mera Halden. Then she wrote the sentence I did not know I needed until I saw it. Asterisk. I failed her by choosing control when I owed her truth. No excuse. No corporate fog. No heroic spin. Just a wound held open in public. I read it from a private clinic room where my mother sat beside me with a blanket over her knees and murder in her eyes. She writes well, my mother said. I looked at her. That is all you have to say? No, I have many things to say. Most of them would get me banned from polite company. Despite everything, I smiled. My mother reached for my hand. You love her. I looked down, yes. And she hurt you. Yes. And both are true. My throat tightened. Yes. My mother squeezed my fingers. Then do not let anyone rush you into choosing which truth matters more. The door opened softly. Selene stood on the threshold. For once, she did not enter like she owned the room. She stood there, holding a paper bag from the cheap bakery near my old apartment. The one with the blueberry rolls my mother liked. My chest tightened. She remembered. Or she had read the file. Maybe both. That thought must have shown on my face because Selene lowered her eyes. I remembered you telling me, she said quietly. Not the file. My mother's eyebrows rose. Selene looked at her. It's Mrs. Halden. My mother did not smile. Miss Vale. Selene flinched almost imperceptibly at the distance in the title. Good. You may come in, my mother said. But if you raise your alpha voice in this room, I will hit you with the IV pole. Selene blinked. Then, to my shock, she bowed her head. That is fair. My mother looked at me as if to say, at least she can be taught. Selene placed the bakery bag on the small table and stepped back. Not closer to me. Back. Vesper said you were cleared medically. I snorted. Vesper talks too much. She enjoys control. So did you. Selene absorbed the hit without defense. Yes. My mother watched her carefully. Selene's gaze stayed on me. I am leaving Vale Tower today. My heart stuttered. What? I cannot rebuild anything clean while living in Octavia's architecture. Selene, it is your company. It was my cage before it became yours. The room went quiet. She swallowed. I did not understand. That until I saw your name, marked transferable. Then I looked at my own life and realized I had been negotiating with a prison warden and calling it family. My mother's expression softened by 1 degree. Only 1, Selene continued. I am not asking you to come with me. My fingers curled in the blanket. What are you asking? Nothing. That made me look at her sharply. She smiled faintly, but it broke before it became real. I am telling you where I will be. There is a small house outside the city. It belonged to my father before Octavia sold everything warm in his memory and kept only the useful parts. I bought it back years ago and never went. Why? Because quiet terrified me. I knew that feeling. She looked at me then with a vulnerability that made my chest ache. If one day you want to speak to me somewhere without cameras, without boardrooms, without anyone deciding what your life is worth, I will be there. My throat burned, and if I never come, her eyes shone. Then I will still make sure the legal fund exists. I will still testify. I will still dismantle every relocation clause I can find. I will still become someone who would not have hurt you, even if you are not there to cease it. The bakery bag crinkled softly as my mother reached in, took a roll, and bit into it without asking. Then she said, "Better answer." A startled laugh escaped me. Selene looked at my mother like she had just survived a trial. Maybe she had. I did not go with Selene that day. That mattered. She left the clinic alone. That mattered more. Vesper visited an hour later with black coffee, 3 legal documents, and the expression of entered a room without calculating exits. Exit. My mother disliked her immediately. Vesper liked her immediately because of it. "Mrs. Halden," Vesper said. "Crow," my mother replied. "No title." Vesper smiled. "I see where Mera gets it. You know nothing about what my daughter gets from me." Enough to be impressed. My mother stared at her. Vesper wisely changed the subject. She handed me the documents. "What is this?" I asked. "Control of the victim's archive." I frowned. "Why are you giving it to me?" "Because if I keep it, I own leverage. If Selene keeps it, Vale owns penance. If regulators keep it, it becomes evidence and then dust." I opened the folder. Names, contacts, encrypted testimonies, funds allocated for legal aid, access keys. My hands went still. "You want me to lead it. I want you to decide what happens to the truth." I looked at her. "What do you get?" Vesper's mouth curved. "Less than I wanted. More than I deserve." "That is not an answer. It is the closest thing to humility you will get from me." My mother muttered. "Tragic." Vesper ignored her, eyes on me. "I used you," she said. The room went still. "I did not expect that," Vesper continued. "I told myself I was giving you weapons, and I was. But I also liked how useful your pain could be." My grip tightened on the folder. "Yes," I said. "I will not apologize beautifully," Vesper said. "Beautiful apologies are often traps. At least you know your brand." Her smile flickered. "I am sorry," she said simply, "and I will not ask you to trust me." "What are you asking?" "For permission to fund the archive without controlling it." I looked down at the names. Other Omegas, other doors, other mothers, other lives filed under transferable. I thought revenge would feel like fire forever. But sitting there, holding those names, I realized revenge was only the match. Justice was the long work after the flames. "I want a board," I said. Vesper's eyes sharpened with interest. "Go on. Not alpha-led, not PAC-owned. Survivors, advocates, legal counsel, medical counsel. Omega's at the center. Beatus too. Anyone harmed by designation laws. No one gets to own it." Vesper's smile grew slowly. "There she is. And you do not get a seat." Her smile paused. My mother made a pleased sound. Vesper tilted her head. "Advisory? No. Observer? No. Donor? Yes." Quietly. Vesper stared at me for a long second. Then she laughed. Not cruelly, not sharply, almost warmly. "You are going to be a nightmare," she said. I looked at the names again. "No," I said. "I am going to be awake." 3 months passed before I saw Selene's house. Not because she asked every day. She did not. That was part of why I went. She sent reports instead, not love notes disguised as accountability. Actual reports, legal fund disbursements, board restructuring documents, testimony dates, a list of every Vale-owned property searched for hidden transfer infrastructure. She sent proof until proof became pattern. She called only when I invited her to. Some calls lasted 5 minutes. Some lasted 2 hours. Sometimes we spoke about court. Sometimes about my mother's recovery. Sometimes about nothing at all. The first time she laughed again, really laughed. I cried. After hanging up because I had forgotten joy could hurt too. Vesper appeared in my life less often, but never fully vanished. She became the kind of dangerous ally people warned you about while accepting her money. My mother said every story needed one woman. You should never invite to dinner, but might call during a coup. Vesper sent flowers after that, black tulips. My mother threw them away. I kept the card. The victim's archive became the Halden Initiative because Vesper insisted Mera's revenge folder lacked institutional dignity. I told her I preferred it. She told me that was why I needed a board. The first public hearing lasted 9 hours. I testified for 23 minutes. Selene sat 3 rows behind me. Not beside me. Not in front. Behind. Where I asked her to be. When Octavia entered the chamber in a gray suit with no jewelry, she looked smaller than I remembered. Not weak. Never weak. Just stripped of the stage that had made cruelty look elegant. Her eyes found mine. For a second, I saw the old contempt. Pretty, she had called me. Pretty doesn't belong in boardrooms, was it? I looked back at her from the witness table. Microphone live. Cameras rolling. My name printed in front of me as founder and executive director. Then I smiled. Not sweetly. Not kindly. Just enough. Octavia looked away first. That was one ending. The house outside the city sat beyond a road lined with pine trees and old stone walls. It was smaller than I expected. White paint, blue shutters, a porch with one crooked step. No gates. No guards at the entrance, at least none I could see. I parked the car myself. My hand stayed on the wheel for a long moment. I had chosen this. No one had driven me here. No one had hidden the destination. No one had told me it was safer than knowing. The front door opened. Selene stepped onto the porch. She wore jeans, actual jeans, and a soft gray sweater with one sleeve pushed up. For a second, I could not reconcile her with the woman from the boardroom. The alpha in charcoal silk calling me liability, while her heart died behind her eyes. Maybe that woman was still in her. Maybe people did not become new. Maybe they became responsible for every version they had been. Selene did not come down the steps. She waited. I got out of the car. The air smelled like pine, rain, and her. No neutralizers. No corporate perfumes. Just Selene. My Omega instincts stirred, but they did not panic. That, too, was evidence. "Hi," she said. So small. So ordinary. After everything, it nearly undid me. "Hi." She looked nervous. I had seen Selene face hostile boards without blinking. I had seen her bleed in a tunnel and still make tactical assessments. I had seen her kneel in a room full of enemies, but standing on that porch, waiting to see if I would take one step closer, she looked more afraid than she ever had. Good, I thought. Then, softer, unfairly, painfully. Poor thing. I walked to the bottom of the steps. She gripped the porch rail but did not move. "You came," she said. "I said I might. I know. You did not ask again. I wanted to. Why didn't you?" Her throat moved because wanting is not permission. The words settled between us. Clean. Learned. I climbed the first step. Selene's eyes filled. She blinked quickly, like she was embarrassed by hope. I climbed the second, then the porch, stood close enough for her scent to wrap around me if I let it. I did not step into her arms. "Not yet. Show me the house," I said. She nodded. Inside, the house was warm in a way Vale Tower had never been. Not expensive warm, human warm. Books on shelves. A chipped mug by the sink. Dusty sunlight on wooden floors. A half-built table in the back room, with tools scattered across it. "You build furniture now?" I asked. Selene looked almost shy. "I ruin wood in increasingly educational ways." A laugh escaped me before I could stop it. Her face changed at the sound, like she had been given something holy and did not trust herself to hold it. We moved through the rooms slowly. No locked doors, no hidden elevators, no frosted glass. At the back of the house, French doors opened to a small garden wild with herbs and late flowers. Selene stood beside me. "I planted lavender," she said. "Then I learned it hates me. It does look offended. I tried. I can see that." The sentence meant more than lavender. We both knew it. The sun lowered behind the trees. For a while, we said nothing. Then Selene whispered, "I have something for you." My body stiffened. She noticed immediately. "Not a contract," she said quickly. "Not jewelry. Not anything that asks for an answer." I looked at her. She went to the small desk by the window and returned with a flat wooden box. She held it out with both hands. I opened it carefully. Inside was a key, old brass, simple. My heart thudded once. Selene spoke before I could. "It is not a key to this house." I looked up. "It is the key to a studio apartment downtown. Lease is in your name. Paid for 1 year through the legal fund, categorized as survivor relocation housing. You can use it, give it to someone else, or throw the key into the river." My throat closed. She continued, voice unsteady. "I wanted, once, to make my home your safety. But I understand now that safety cannot depend on whether I deserve you." I stared at the key. Not a cage. Not a claim. A door. One I could open or not. My vision blurred. "You are very annoying," I whispered. Selene's mouth trembled. "I have been called worse." I set the box down. Then I looked at her. "I do not forgive you all at once. I know. I may never forget the hallway. I know. Sometimes I will hear no one in your voice even when you are saying my name." Selene's face crumpled, but she stayed still. "I will spend my life making sure you hear something else more often," she said. I stepped closer. Her breath caught. "Do you want to claim me?" I asked. The question struck her like lightning. Her alpha scent flared and then folded back so fast I almost smiled. She swallowed hard. "Yes, honest, no performance, no false nobility. Just yes." "But not more than I want you free," she said. My heart broke softly. Then healed wrong. Then healed better. I touched the side of her throat where no bond mark rested. Her pulse hammered beneath my fingers. "Ask me again someday," I said. Her eyes widened. "Someday?" I smiled faintly. "Do not get greedy, Alpha." A broken laugh slipped out of her. Then she cried, not dramatically, not beautifully, just silently, like her body had finally found a place safe enough to fall apart. I reached for her. This time, I chose it. Selene's arms came around me, slowly, carefully, waiting for the moment I might change my mind. I did not. I rested my head against her chest and listened to her heart beat like something learning a new rhythm. "I love you," she whispered. I closed my eyes. The words hurt. They also warmed. Both were true. "I know," I said. She held me tighter for 1 second, then loosened immediately, remembering. I smiled against her sweater. "I love you too," I whispered. Selene stopped breathing. I pulled back enough to look at her. "But love is not a pardon." She nodded, tears on her cheeks. "No, and it is not ownership. No. And if you ever call me no one again, I will hand you the knife myself," she said. I blinked, then laughed, really laughed. Selene laughed, too, wet and disbelieving, and the sound filled the little house like windows opening. 6 months later, Octavia Vale was convicted on charges of conspiracy, trafficking-related corporate coercion, unlawful detention infrastructure, and financial crimes tied to Sterling Private Security. Mera testified. So did Selene. So did I. Vesper sat in the gallery during my testimony wearing white, because apparently subtlety remained beneath her. My mother sat beside her and refused to share mints. The Halden Initiative opened 3 safe residences in its first year, not cages. Homes with locks on the inside. Survivors chose their own lawyers, doctors, names, and futures. Some went back to their packs. Some never did. No one was called transferable again, without the whole city hearing teeth behind the word. Selene stepped down as CEO for 1 year during the investigations and returned only after the board was rebuilt with survivor oversight and external legal authority. She did not ask me to stand beside her at the announcement. I went anyway. Not as her hidden Omega, not as her redemption, as myself. When reporters shouted whether we were bonded, Selene looked at me first, asking. Always asking now. I smiled into the cameras. Not yet, I said. The city lost its mind. Vesper sent one text. Asterisk dramatic. Proud. Annoyed I didn't think of it. My mother sent another. Asterisk. Do not let that woman mark you until she fixes the lavender. Oddisk Selene read it over my shoulder and said, very seriously, that is fair. 1 year after the summit, I returned to the 42nd floor. Not for Selene. For me. The frosted glass no longer read Vilpack Holdings. It read Vale Halden Justice Review Board. I told Selene the name was too much. She told me the old board voted unanimously. I told her she was impossible. She said, yes, but now I put it in writing. The hallway looked smaller than I remembered. That surprised me. Trauma is a gifted architect. It makes corridors endless, doors enormous, words permanent. But standing there now, with my own badge against my palm, I saw it for what it was. Glass, carpet, a door. Not a grave. Selene stood beside me quiet. She had asked if I wanted to come alone. I had said no. Not because I needed her. Because I wanted her to witness the place where she lost me. And understand I could stand in it without becoming that girl again. I pressed my palm to the scanner. It blinked green. Access granted. My name appeared on the screen. Mera Halden. No designation, no asset status, no transfer note, just my name. Selene made a sound beside me. I looked over. Her eyes were wet. You okay? I asked. She laughed softly, embarrassed. I should be asking you that. You can. But answer first. She looked at the door, then at me. I am ashamed, she said, and grateful, and terrified I will never fully deserve to stand beside you here. I took her hand. Her breath caught the way it always did when I chose contact first. Deserving is not a place you arrive, I said. It is what you keep doing. She squeezed my fingers carefully. I will keep doing it. I know. The boardroom doors opened. Inside, sunlight poured across a table that had once been used to price my life. Now survivors sat around it. Omegas, betas. A few alphas who had learned to listen before speaking. My mother sat near the end with a folder, looking ready to ruin someone professionally. Vesper sat in the back row despite not having a seat, because naturally she had found a loophole. I pointed at her. You are not on the board. She smiled. I am furniture, my mother said. Expensive furniture. Bad taste. Selene coughed to hide a laugh. I walked to the head of the table. For a moment, everyone waited. Not because I was an Omega. Not because I belonged to an Alpha. Because I had something to say. I looked around that room and remembered every version of myself that had brought me there. The girl in the hallway, the Omega in the car, the daughter on the video call, the witness, the survivor, the woman who left, the woman who returned by choice. Then I spoke. This room once decided what I was worth without asking me, I said. That ends today. No one interrupted. No one laughed. No one called me pretty. No one called me no one. After the meeting, Selene and I walked out together. In the hallway, she stopped. I turned. What? She looked nervous again. That still amazed me. A year ago, nervous Selene Vale would have sounded impossible. Now she was my favorite version. I fixed the lavender, she said. I blinked. What? At this house. Your mother said. I laughed. My mother was joking. I know. You fixed it anyway. Selene's cheeks colored faintly. I watched 4 gardening videos and called a botanist. You called a botanist for lavender? It was suffering. I stared at her. Then I kissed her. Not because the hallway was healed. Not because the past had vanished. Because the past stood there with us. And still, I chose. Selene froze for half a heartbeat before kissing me back. Gentle and reverent, one hand hovering near my waist until I took it and placed it there myself. Camera crews down the corridor erupted. Someone gasped. Vesper, from somewhere behind us, said finally. My mother said, "Not in the hallway, Mera." I broke the kiss laughing. Selene rested her forehead against mine. "Someday," she whispered. I knew what she meant. The claim, the bond. The daylight promise that had once been a lie and might someday become something else. I touched the side of her throat, then my own. "Ask me tonight," I said. Her eyes went wide. "Tonight? At the house," I added. "No cameras, no board, no crisis, just us." She swallowed hard. "And if you say no, then you make tea. And if you say yes," I smiled, "then you still make tea. I am not being claimed thirsty." Selene laughed, and this time the sound held no ruin, only wonder. That night, the house smelled like lavender. Real lavender, not perfect. A little sharp, a little wild, alive. Selene stood in the garden under a sky full of quiet stars, hands open at her sides. No suit, no witnesses, no empire. Just the woman who had hurt me, changed for me, and then kept changing, when changing no longer guaranteed she would get me back. That was what made me trust her enough to stand there. Not the kneeling, not the apologies, the staying different. She looked at me. "Mera Halden," she said, voice trembling. "May I ask?" My heart beat once, then again. "Free still, mine, yes." Selene lowered to one knee in the grass, not as surrender this time, as reverence. "I love you," she said. "I choose you in daylight, in truth, and only if you choose me back. May I bond with you?" The Omega in me went silent, not from fear, from peace. I thought of the hallway. I thought of the tunnel. I thought of my mother's voice telling me not to become payment. I thought of my own name, on the scanner, clean and whole. Then I stepped forward and placed my hand in Selene's. "Yes," I said, "but not because you saved me." Selene's tears spilled over. "No, because I saved myself," I whispered, "and I still want you beside me." Her breath broke. When she rose, she did not take. She waited. I tilted my head by choice, and when Selene marked me beneath the lavender and stars, it did not feel like ownership. It felt like a door opening from both sides. Later, wrapped in a blanket on the porch, my head on her shoulder and her hand resting carefully in mine, my phone buzzed. A message from Vesper. Asterisk congratulations. Try not to become boring. A second message followed from my mother. Asterisk. Tell Selene the lavender looks acceptable. Also, I want grandchildren only in the metaphorical initiative sense for now. I laughed so hard Selene had to hold the tea steady. She read the messages and went crimson. "Your mother is terrifying," she said. "Yes, Vesper is worse. Also yes." Selene kissed my temple. I let her. The city still had courts to face. Laws to rewrite, survivors to protect, and monsters clever enough to wear respectable names. But that night, for the first time in a long time, I did not feel hunted. I did not feel traded. I did not feel like a liability someone had decided to hide. I was Mera Halden, Omega, daughter, founder, lover, survivor, free civilian. And when my alpha whispered my name into the dark, she said it like a vow she knew she had to keep earning. Not once, not beautifully, but every day after. This time, when my phone went silent, it did not scare me. Because silence was no longer abandonment. It was peace. And peace, I had learned, was not given by powerful women in towers. It was built, chosen, defended, and finally, after everything, shared.